Hi, I'm Teresa Kendall, a learning and development enthusiast and talent development expert. If you're here because you're new to training or you find yourself needing to create or deliver training without any idea of where to start, never fear. I started out in my career just like you. I made every mistake in the book along the way and also discovered that I love helping others learn at work. I'm here to share my tips and tricks with you so you can wow your department, team, and boss with your training skills. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite activities that will work with basically any training topic you can think of. Activities are usually overlooked when we develop training. We're so focused on shoving new facts and knowledge down everyone's throat that we forget that the way adults learn best is by doing. Adding these versatile and fun activities to your training tool belt will make your training way more effective. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel to access even more great content after today's video. So the first type of activity I want to recommend to you is something called a pair share. So what is that? A pair share activity is when you give either pairs or small groups of participants an activity to complete and then ask them to share the result of their group work with the rest of the team. And why does it work for everything? Well, this is an incredibly versatile strategy to use. You can use pretty much any activity in a pair or group setting. I'm talking case studies, problems to solve, quizzes to take, puzzles to build, practice exercises to complete in a new tool or a technology, research to do. I mean, the list goes on and on here. Pair or group activities can work virtually or in person as well. It's just as easy now to throw people into a breakout room in Zoom as it is to have people pair up together in a room. And it also typically requires very few materials, most of which can be inexpensive. Things like printed case studies, flip charts, and pens, online tools for brainstorming or mind mapping can often be free, meaning your organization already has it there for you to use, or really cheap and cost-effective. And this type of activity is effective and so widely used with adults because it aligns so well with theories of adult learning. It provides adults with the ability to do or try something. It gives them the ability to apply their own experiences, and it also gives them the chance to learn something from their peers. A good debrief in a pair share exercise can be critical for creating aha moments among learners and can also help you as an instructor understand if the team is getting it or if you need to review content again. So now let's talk about something even more simple, an individual reflection activity. What is it? Individual reflection is something each learner completes on their own. It can be a series of questions to reflect on how they personally relate to the content, how confident they are in their understanding of it, or even to demonstrate their understanding of the content. And again, this is a super versatile strategy to use when designing an activity. A reflection could be anything from having participants write out how they personally connected to the content and how they'll use it at work, having them complete a worksheet or a quiz individually, or having them create a flyer or an infographic to display what they learned, or maybe even an image to display what they learned. And it's effective because reflection is a big part of the learning transfer process. Again, often overlooked by trainers. Thinking about what we know and personalizing it is critical for us to retain what we've learned. My caveat for any individual reflection activity, though, is to think about how accountability plays into this activity. So they've reflected, but now what? And how do we know that they've done it? I would consider requiring participants to submit their individual activity to you as the trainer, to their supervisor or manager maybe, after completion, so that there's some personal accountability for the exercise. If you're looking for something more dynamic, try a quiz game. A quiz game is really just a series of multiple choice questions posed to an audience. They can have a single correct response, multiple correct responses. Some quiz games can even include open-ended questions where the audience has to either type out or say their response, or matching games where the audience can pair up a word with a definition, for example. And it works because if you're presenting any kind of content at all to your audience, a quiz game works. If you want to know if your audience knows where to go to find a document, if you want to know if they understand who should be completing a certain task, ask a quiz question. Quizzes can be administered in any setting, virtually or in person, and they can be just as fun if you are doing them individually or if you're including some sort of competition element where the winner receives a prize. They can be in different formats too, like a Jeopardy style quiz game, for example. And this is really effective because it's actually a great way to apply neuroscience principles to your learning design. Everybody loves a good neuroscience principle. When our brains are learning new information and we force ourselves to stop and recall what we just learned, we're actually building memories for ourselves. Even better if you answer different questions about the same topic or idea. They're an active and fun way to promote recall in your learners. And then finally, if you're working with a complicated topic, a mind map activity might work for you. A mind map activity is a fairly open-ended activity where a topic, idea, or problem is introduced, and then learners can contribute their thoughts and ideas to either define it, brainstorm a solution, or solve it. And it works because it's a really fantastic way to promote learning in adults because it requires them to draw on their own thoughts and experiences to contribute to a discussion. Mind maps can be drawn on paper or created online. They can be done together as a large group or in smaller groups individually and then shared with the larger group. Remember that pair-share activity we talked about. This is a really effective activity for topics that are considered more on the soft skills end of the spectrum. So if you want your team to brainstorm customer-centric strategies and best practices, or if you want them to come up with multiple solutions to a single issue or problem, or maybe even if you want to see how they would define something or how they would connect one process to another, this might be a great activity for you to choose. And it's effective, again, because it helps learners demonstrate connections between what they're learning and what they already know. The idea of mind mapping is actually centered around ideation and brainstorming related to something specific, but usually the answer is coming from the participant rather than you as the trainer. So it's also a highly effective way to begin a training session because it can get learners thinking about the content or best practices before you present it, and then you can just reinforce their own thoughts and ideas when you talk about best practices. So to recap, there are 4 types of activities you can use to make your training more fun and effective. A pair share, an individual reflection, a quiz game, or a mind map activity. All tap into adult learning theory by allowing adult learners to learn from their experiences and their peers, and to apply new concepts and knowledge immediately. I would encourage you to try to incorporate at least one of these into your next training session. What you tell people is important, but what they do themselves is what they'll always remember. Thanks for watching. I'm Teresa Kendall, your friendly neighborhood learning and development enthusiast. Be sure to stay tuned for my next video, where I'm going to talk about how to create an awesome training session in 60 minutes or less. Thanks!